Hello, 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 you most beautiful stars. I am about 20 minutes late to my own show. Woo! Welcome to mid-August, folks. I think everybody's feeling that way, right? Beloved beings in the Northern Hemisphere here in the States, I wish you um, cooling down and staying safe, plenty of water. Um, I am run down a bit today, and I am Courtney, the host of Stars of the Morning Light. I do kind of babble for a little bit as people start funneling in, and I do greet those that come into my chat. This is a lovely community here, and so because we are a community, I say hello to people. I normally do go live because I just roll that way. So much easier. I'm cool with it. I don't do any editing. I love it. So, hello, Miss Lori and Miss Chloe. Good to see you. We are doing Edgar Cayce life skill studies. Recently, I've really been enjoying digging into Edgar Cayce. We're not going to do his bio today, which is normally what I would do because I flip flop between some of his material and or his bio. But because I just spent, I think, 3 days doing yard work before the real heat was coming, I didn't get to doing more of preparing for the bio as well as I wanted to. And this, we're just going to read together and see what rolls, right? We are currently talking about relationships in that book. It is Edgar Cayce and the secrets of the universe and how to use them. Uh, well, I guess this card heard me say relationships. I pull from the sacred geometry deck, and the moment I said relationships, this card jumped out. So we're just gonna roll with it, and y'all can have a good time if you need to. This is number 4. My decks are so fun. You know, I was thinking the other day, I don't think a lot of people understand that tarot decks, the homes that you live in, the cars that we drive, it's not just us humans and plants and nature and animals that are sentient beings. The house that you live in is a sentient being. The car that you drive. Try to think about that for a minute. That's why we name them. That's why we name our cars. And when they're not running that well, we rub their little dashboard and we go, "You can do it. You can do it. Go on. You can do it." It's because they're actually sentient as well. We decided at some point to only make carbon-based things sentient. That's not true. So my cards, any of my tarot decks, which I don't do that professionally anymore, but if I need to, if an occasion arises, my cards are sentient as well. They're listening to what I'm saying. So when I said relationships, this card flew out. And it's number 42, Transic Journey. The trans, the, sorry, my lighting is low in here. I might have to change that. The frequency of Transic Journey helps us to unlock the hidden knowledge and wisdom that we intrinsically hold about how to reach a state of wholeness and completion through our sensual experiences with ourselves and others. I'm going to hold this up. Oh my goodness, that is beautiful. Look at those lovely pyramids in the shape of the Star of David, with also, oh wow, this is actually very fascinating. If you can look in, you got diamonds at the four corners, you have a square, you have lots of different bubbles, you have the Star of David with also three multiple the points at each. I would say the points are glowing at each. Wow, guys, actually, there's a lot going on here because there's geometry behind it as well. There's a lot going on here. Also, somewhat of the sacred flower of life action going on. There is a lot happening. apparently there's a lot that goes on with transit journeys. I'll read that again. The frequency of transit journey helps us to unlock the hidden knowledge and wisdom that we intrinsically hold about how to reach a state of wholeness and completion through our sensual experiences with ourselves and others. I'll hold it up one more time. So this flew out when it heard me say relationships, because that's where we are in this book. We're actually going to go more into family relationships now that we're entering chapter 5 of the secrets of the universe and how to use them. But we were covering romantic relationships, marriages, couples, that kind of thing, out of this material. I do need more lighting, but that would require me to find all sorts of things to plug in. That's not going to happen right now. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so pardon me. I'm going to try to flip the light better for me. And maybe turn the light up a little bit. My light might be down. No, we're good. I'll still be able to read in the darkness. You know, when I was young, I could do that. And now I might need readers. I know everybody in the chat just started laughing. And I saw Susie come in and Teresa come in. Good to see you. You know, everybody, we're in the middle of August. And this is the time. This is this is the time that everybody's kind of cranky. And we're just cranky. We're tired of the heat. We're tired of worrying about things. We're tired of overworking in the heat. We're tired of having to go from one place to another and it be real hot and everybody's just cranky. This is why when you go somewhere, couples are fighting, babies are crying, school is starting in places, so everybody's even more like overloaded, it feels like. So maybe that card also came out to remind us to spend quality time with ourselves and loved ones, because that tends to be a remedy to crankiness, isn't it? Yes, it is. To express ourselves in that way. So maybe that's what a lot of us need, to just relax, chill out, cool down, and come together. Nothing wrong with promoting that. To love the one you're with, even if it's yourself. So, it's good to be here, though, with you all. And Jackie J, I saw you come in. Good to see you, my dear. It is definitely August. I will tell you, I do plan on doing a series about the sun. Decided. And actually, a happy hippie rap, Robin, that is a patron and a part of our community here. She reminded me that. She emailed me and she said, do a series about the sun. So I'm going to finish up the star consciousness, which really we're going to kind of go from where we've been with that into how do we do that. And it really is service to self and others. Okay, it really is. And then from there, I'm going to be going into the sun. And I heard a thing today, I reposted it on Facebook, about an elder, a knowledgeable man that it appeared. He started talking about the sun and how it also relates to the Akashic. And so I am going to do a series about the sun. That's going to happen after Star Consciousness, and then I am going to have to get back into the Emerald Tablets. I'm feeling that's going to be needed. Also know at some point I am going to have just probably a live, I'm chatting about a lot of things, another rant, another freeform talk, but in there I do want to talk about the flip of the poles. People, because we're going to be living through it, because we're going to have to help the earth transition so there's not, a great flood that wipes everybody out. We need to talk more about the flip of the poles and why we are living in the world of extremes, and that even means climate. That even means that for me, I tend to say things to friends and family that doesn't get said here. And I'm starting to realize I'm just going to start saying it here as well. And that's why I kind of am bringing this up because I just don't think about it when I'm here. But I have been saying to my husband and to friends and family for a while, like, yeah, towards the end, mid-August, we're going to have a massive heat for about a week and a half. And then it is going to be much cooler in the areas that, like I'm in the South. September is still usually very hot. It's not going to be that way for us. So garden, crops have to change. We have to plan differently. Same with anywhere else in the America or the global. It's all changing because of the flip of the poles. So I'm going to start putting that stuff out there much sooner for people to, have. Because I do that with a lot of things and then I don't do it here. I forget. You know, for a lot of different things that I will just start expressing. I will just start expressing. Because why not? Ain't nothing going to happen to me. Why not? So we are in chapter 5. And I'm just looking at, because I finally put a bookmark in here so I could remember where we were. And I believe I saw Coke Queen coming in. Good to see you, my dear. Okay, so at the very end of this, they were talking about, remember, it's starting to go into family. So it's like you chose. There's this very interesting explanation that's going to come more into chapter 6, the following chapter, about you were attracted to the vibrations and frequencies that your parents were giving off, that the environment that you were born into was giving off. You were attracted to the area that you were that was giving off, right? As to why we were born and the time period. My teachers, they say it all the time. We are so blessed to be born and living through this time period. I know it seems chaotic. I know it seems like, whoa, a lot to handle. But we chose to be here at this time to help, to be able to support what's going on, to be able to go through the transition more easier, like for others, right? So all of that is in the mix. And so some of the last reading, we talked about the body that you choose, um, and the family that you choose, and the location area that you choose, all at birth. I will tell you, another magazine reached out to me to do another article about my career in life, and I just started typing it up for this morning, and so when that comes out, I'll let you know. Um, and the question that I chose first, because what they do is they give you a list of questions that you can choose from, and then respond, and then they put it into like an interview form. And the first question I chose was, if you in a room, if you look different than everybody else in that room, how did you use that to become effective or successful? And it goes back to the last that we were talking about when we were here last week together with this. I chose this body. Did it take me well into my 20s to be okay with that? Did it take me well into my 20s to understand what to do with this body? Yes. Did it take me even longer, which I mean just a couple, 2, 3 years ago, for me to acknowledge, oh, I'm going to end up taking this body with me into 7D. Oh, this is my body. I'm taking it with me. I thought for the majority of my life, oh, I would probably just ascension meant to leave the body as in that way. No, it means leave the body to gain higher consciousness, but you come right back to this body. So, yeah, it was just about a few years ago that I went, oh, I didn't take such care of this body. Now, I was raised to believe if you buy a new great tool from the hardware store and you might spend some money, that tool, if you keep it clean and you keep it healthy and you put it back where it needs to be at the end of the day and you take care of it, that tool will last you a lifetime. That's how I was raised. And then I had to put that into context of my body. This is the greatest tool I have. The greatest tool I have. And yet I dismissed it for a good, 30 something years, guys. I dismissed it. And now I'm trying to get back to it. Get back to the fact that this is my body. This is what attaches me to lovely Gaia. This is what holds my tools. So I need to get back to it, feel it, experience it, heal it, be one with it, and learn how to use it even more effectively. Many people are going through that. Many people are going through that, especially because we live in a culture that we eat crappy. We are not used to getting the exercise that we need. All sorts of damage that we've done. Regardless of whatever the damage might have been. Many of us have dismissed the body for a long time. And it does take the triangle, right? It does take our beautiful pyramid. Mental and emotional, spiritual, and physical. So for years now, I've been working on getting my physical back together. And guys, anybody can do it. I've lost over 60 pounds. I don't eat and drink and do as I used to as much. I do partake here and there. I started doing belly dance with Jamie Gray of Blue Sun Fusion Studio. That's an awesome. That's that actually, as she did in our interview here, I've never experienced anything that gets me connected to my body more than that, ever. I thought hiking was my thing because it was back in the day. There's nothing like doing that. It's fascinating, of what moving your body like that can teach you how much of a tool this really is, how expansive this body really can be. So that was a part of the last show. I'm just going back to it because usually around this time, we're feeling the aches and the pains of our bodies by the end of the summer. Doesn't have to actually be that way. And then we went into why you chose where you were born. Well, it's going to go back into that, I believe, a little bit more. And the family, parents, siblings, all of that. And so in this one, I might talk more about soul contracts. I do know, for some reason, that's been a bit confusing for people over the years. They're just now learning it. Just now learning that, yeah, no, you choose. You chose for whatever your purpose is. Whatever your purpose is. So I might go a bit into my history depending on what the reading entails, because I do know why I have the body I have, why I chose where I was born, why I chose the family I was born into. And it does have to, it relates all to my purpose. So I might use it to give examples. All right. So I'm just going to start reading from where we left off. Chapter 5 of Secrets. This is Secrets of the Universe and How to Use Them. Chapter 5 is Secrets of Family Relationships. So, what's our problem? Is it hereditary or is it environmental? Take habits. All my bad ones, take them please. That was the writer making a joke. Habits are akin to desire and not necessarily inherent. Habits are an environmental reaction of the senses, sparked by desire. Desire originates at 3 levels: mental, spiritual, and physical. Or delinquency inherited only in that a child inherits an environment that, inherits the environment its parents have created, or that certain familiar vibration patterns attract the incoming soul. Delinquency is caused more by community environment, which includes practically the whole world, since TV has made it seem as though we live in one global community. Cayce said 50 years ago that juvenile delinquency is caused by delinquency in high places. What would we say today? I do want to apologize, folks. I just now remembered that to me, who's been reading this to you for the past 4 chapters, chapter 5 was clearly written most likely by some ghostwriter helping the efforts to get it out faster than, because I will tell you, the Edgar Cayce Institute, their library is extensive. They were pumping out books. They were pumping them out. So, I believe chapter 5 was written by a different writer, and so it's kind of a different flow and it's a little bit more choppy. So I'm doing my best. I can tell. I can tell. Cayce held views on raising children. He viewed the birth of a child as an advent of the soul into earth for the purpose of experiencing his or her true relationship with God. But one gets the feeling he wouldn't have favored MTV. Remember, this was written in also 1989. So do know the writers or writer, they're very opinionated also in this, because of the time period. This was published in 1989, so that was the latchkey kids. So delinquency, I was that kid. In 1989, I would have been 8 years old. Okay, in 1989, I was 8 years old. I was that kid. I mean, whatever. I was that kid. Same with when she was talking about like women taking over the workplace and, this and all sorts of stuff. We have to put it in the context of 1989 and the 80s and 90s, really. So, have things evolved some? Yes. And it's interesting because we're going into the kid aspect, it went from latchkey to then they started being called uh and delinquency, but then it would go into like terms like free range children, or uh what's the term that's going around today, uh feral children. Feral. So keep that in mind, that so when I was a kid, it was latchkey, and yeah, all of those terms would have applied. All of it, delinquent, feral, free range, whatever you wanted to call it. But um, they're on the onset of that when they're now looking at it in the 1989 view. Um, Children should be taught, he said, to recognize the deformation of the, whoa, yeah, that says it, deformation of the relationship between men and women as we observe it through media, books, song, and movements of the body in the entertainments. And this is 50 years ago. And she was screaming that. That Cayce, 50 years ago, in readings, said parents need to pay attention to what's happening with entertainment, books, all of it. She just mentioned MTV. And the movements of body in all of the entertainments. What are these children being exposed to? About sex education, he said not to wait for adolescence. During the first 9 or 10 years, children should be taught the beauty and sacredness of sex. He said to teach them how they contain themselves within themselves and that the God given force was going to rise up, but that they should be given the information that they are souls who have already experienced this force. I'm going to keep reading. Actually, no. Wow. I love that man. Cayce was trying to tell the world, talk to your kids about sex by the time they're 8, 9, 10 years old, which a lot of parents do now, because it will rise up. It is a part of our nature, it is a part of who we are. But he puts this to it. Explain to your children that they can withhold, they can take their time because they've experienced it before. So they will experience it again. Like, explain to your kids that, well, this is not your first time being here. This is not your first life. So you've done all of those adult things before. You might not remember them, but when you get the urge to be very adult in your behaviors, remember you're going to get there regardless, and you've already done it. That's a new approach now, isn't it? That's a very new approach. Yes, we do talk to our kids about sex. Yes, we do try to educate them, especially in today's world. Or at least we were. That all this stuff that you might want to do when you're a teenager, you've already done before. So it shouldn't have that big of a rebel thing to it, right? Wow, that's a fascinating kind of take. I guess we all can chew on that. I guess I could actually ask anybody that question too, not just about kids. If you knew, because most of us are adults here, if you knew growing up that all that stuff that we go out and do, us feral children and free range kids, delinquents, if we knew that, heck, we've already done it, it's already been done by us, it's already within us in our consciousness, if we had known that, releasing that mystery, would that have changed things? I don't know. Questions to ponder. Edgar Cayce Life Skills Study. Always questions to ponder. I'll continue. Too little attention, he believed, is given during the formative years to the biological conditions within the child. By the age of 3, children know they are different from the animals. He said the animal instinct is the source of humankind's undoing, but the biological sexual urge is natural, and a child should be told early how to handle it when it awakens. Children are capable of understanding responsibility, and they can be told from an early age that they are going to reproduce their own kind, that they will draw to them what they hold in their minds. Children can understand that fruits of the Spirit are just as much a part of their biological natures as is the sexual urge, and they can be taught to express gentleness, kindness, brotherly love, long suffering, and so forth as a method of setting into motion mental attributes that will build for them a kingdom. I actually agree. I agree, and I think it's because my parents raised me a lot that way. Probably because my mom read a lot of Edgar Cayce stuff. Um, my parents believed in not talking to me like a child. And even if anyone in the family, anyone of authority, teachers, friends, it did not matter. Um, if someone as an adult tried to talk to me as a child, they would immediately ask them not to. And immediately, yeah, it was not allowed. It just was not allowed for anyone, even if I was a 3 year old, it was not allowed to talk to me like a 3 year old. Because, well, because I wasn't going to be three for the rest of my life. So I get that, to have those kind of conversations. As children are learning responsibility to take care of themselves and around the house and learn and grow, you can teach them to be responsible with the fact that they will bring other humans into the world. Hereditary, environment, and the people with whom we associate influence our faults, failures, and weaknesses. But the way of escape is preferred. He thou not willeth that any soul be perish, even though addictions. Okay. Rather than rather than loose spirituality by suffering addictions, the very purpose of being born might be fulfilled by the process of recovering from from every from those very addictions seen as most destructive. So that's saying that the recovery of those addictions is where the fulfillment of the process. Um, let's keep going. Hereditary, environment, and the people with whom we associate also influence our character, integrity, and strengths. Spiritual development is not accomplished in placid peace. Spiritual development, I gotta read that again, guys. Spiritual development is not accomplished in placid peace, but in winning wars fought against various aspects of self. There's a page break here. How to change hereditary influences. So I think we're all intelligent people here, and we understand what they're saying. So if you have addictions, the recovery from that addiction fulfills more of your purpose than anything else. Uh, just that aspect. Remember, everything is so we can kind of get to filling our purpose. That is also why our life's journey is our spiritual journey. Our life's journey is our spiritual journey. So wherever you are in it, wherever you are, you could have been doing great and you backslide big time. You could be going full steam ahead. You could be just trying to manage day to day. Wherever you are in your life journey, that is your soul's journey and purpose. That's why we choose who we get born into, what families the hereditary influences, the environments, the body, all of it. And I will tell you, as many of you know, I went through recovery. I was there for a little while, going to meetings. I never went into treatment or anything like that. No, what I did is I twisted my entire foot around 180 degrees, dropped to my butt, and then twisted it back around because I didn't think that was right in the moment. That, and I couldn't walk for 3 months. So I didn't need to go to rehab. So that's what I did. Anyways, but I'm grateful that I did that. I'm grateful that my ankle is full of nothing but metal because I was going in I was being very dangerous with my body and my life. Very dangerous. And it was with addictions. And that is also what truly opened up more of my spiritual journey into I had to start accepting myself. As we talk about with Edgar here, he had a time period too that he was trying to escape, that he was trying to run away from who he was, that he was trying to deny that he was a quote unquote freak, as people called him. He did it for about a year. He didn't like it. Grandma was dying. He went and stayed with Grandma instead. And she delivered him the great message of be who you are so you can help people get to the fruits of the Spirit. I had to go through the same type of thing. A lot of people do. I will tell you, those who really do suffer from addiction, they are usually the biggest empaths. They are usually very gifted individuals. Um, and this world is harsh. This 3D world is harsh. And so oftentimes they're just trying to feel okay, or they're just trying to this and that, and then the addiction gets them. They are usually very empathic, great gifted human beings that need help. So they're even agreeing with it, that those who do recover, that part is a part of their beautiful journey in life, and it helps to fulfill even grander purposes. So going back to the page break, which it's just a little baby page break right there. How to change hereditary influences. We can change hereditary influences by recognizing them as gifts and giving not only thanks, but praise for those we've been able to apply in soul development. As free-willed agents, we don't choose what happened to us as children, but we do choose how to feel about it, how to feel about what happened and about our hereditary influences. Our birth families are gifts we gave to ourselves before we were born. Cayce said, it is the spiritual activity within the body of the parents or the lack of it that determines the influence predominant in the life of their children. But as adults, nothing overcomes choice. We actually cover a lot of this in Stars of the Morning Light on Patreon. We cover a lot of this. So as adults, as we're children, things happen to us, right? Things happen to us. And it is very difficult to be grateful at some point of those things. It is. There's a whole process. And many times, because we like to escape or we like to deny, that denial can be so strong with us humans with our free will, that first we have to even acknowledge. We have to acknowledge that things happened and they were detrimental and they did influence some of our outcomes. We have to acknowledge it. I meet more people that do not acknowledge it than not. So first we have to even acknowledge it, have the awareness. Then oftentimes we have to accept it, that it did happen and it did affect us. It did happen. It affected us. Can I at least accept that part? And then we have to work towards forgiveness before we can even see that out of all those circumstances, all the pain and suffering, we like and appreciate who we are. It's a very long process, a very, very long process. We appreciate the fact of those experiences taught us great things, that we know how to handle other things that pop up in life because of those circumstances. It's very hard to go through that journey. And it is also very hard to forgive things. I'm not saying any of this is easy. And I do suggest counseling. I do suggest, if you have addictions, going to any form of meetings. I definitely suggest CODA meetings as well, because Codependence Anonymous handles those hereditary influences. That's what that's all about. Those habits and behaviors, those thought patterns that we inherently learn and soak in and develop over time based on interactions and relationships that we witness and see and experience. That's where you can handle and heal from a lot of it. I do have to say though, it's wonderful that he says, but as adults, nothing overcomes choice. I've said it here a million times that the human free will is by far one of the most grandest, most powerful things in all of the cosmos. Actually, within the all. So if we can see the all and really see that it is all, but then as we know, we do kind of break it up into subcategories and parts and things like that. We're a human compared to other beings. You know, we live here on Earth. We don't live on Mars, that kind of thing, right? If you end up breaking up the all into the subcategories, as most do, but it is just the all, so there is actually no subcategories. Oh, yes. Drink that one in, folks. Drink that one in. Maybe that's the part that's missing as to why people can't see it. They're trying to take all of the subcategories and put them into a ball or a box. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. It is there's not even subcategories in the all. The all is all. Anyways, but let's say we do because that's how we think of things. We put things in our boxes. If we want to do it that way, I will tell you, out of all of the boxes, of all the subcategories, human free will, I mean, it's up there in like the top 3 of, well, maybe top 5 of like the most powerful forces in the all. That's what people really don't understand. Your human free will, as Cayce just said, your choices as adults, our choices overcome everything. It's very, when I do a reading for people, an Akashic reading, not only do they always ask, what's my purpose, which is like you're living it. Your purpose is to love. Your purpose is to love. That's it. Your purpose is to love. Um, but of course, I go into detail. Um, but oftentimes, they also they'll want to ask a lot of questions about the future. There, guys, nothing is written in stone because of human free will. Human free will. So, what pertains to us humans also that amplifies out and reflects back, and as above, so below, so above, as within, so without. We are completely connected, but our human free will, like let's say I'm doing a reading, that person wants to know about their future. What about this of my future? What about that? I can see or be shown maybe one or two perspective outcomes, or even just one perspective outcome based on the frequency they're holding in the moment. But I can only go so far because at some point their human free will is going to come in and change it all up. Their human free will is going to go, um, I've decided to break up with that person. I decided I'm going to quit this job. I've decided that I'm going to do this and that. Our human free will change is what overrides, changes, overcomes anything by the choices we make. So it's I just want to make that clear how powerful that is. How very powerful that is. So there's another page break. And I have not been able to see all the chat being spoken, but I love watching you guys being able to speak with one another in the chat. It's lovely. It's lovely. We are definitely a wonderful community. Oh, it looks like the chat, because I mentioned my ankle. I guess everybody's comparing notes. Like, yeah, I broke my ankle. I injured this. So, yeah, yeah. But it got us to where we are. Things happen. So let's talk about the next page break. I find it very interesting too that they really just that page break here of how to change hereditary influences, very small. No practical steps. No, how do we do this? No, how do we do that? I will tell you 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that is filtered into other recovery programs. Actually, hands down, I'm not a part of those communities anymore, but I will tell you, I needed it for about 2 years to get over all of my anger, all of my pain, find forgiveness, accept myself, that kind of stuff. They are wonderful that if you actually work them, they're wonderful for that. But they gave no steps in that of like, hey, um, we can change hereditary influences by recognizing them as gifts and giving and not giving and only giving thanks not only giving thanks but praise for those we've been able to apply in soul development. It's hard for people to get there to say that all this trauma was a gift when they might not like themselves or they might not accept themselves. It's not until we can love ourselves and accept ourselves and be on that journey can we look back and go, oh, that was a gift. So moving forward, the spiritual family. As all these lovely people in chat, especially Stars of the Morning Patreon members, they are becoming, they're all starting to talk now and meditate together. They're becoming such a lovely community, like a spiritual family. And I see you, Cricket. Good to see you, my dear. She just came into the chat. The spiritual family. Something wonderful is happening in our society. Countless persons with a heritage of dysfunctions are discovering freedom from hereditary influences and claiming the inheritance that was meant for them, the right to choose. In our family relationships, it is important that we recognize the group as gathered for a purpose. In many cases, for the purpose of working out old hurts, which goes into soul contracts, which I might get into, but I want to keep reading. Where once we hid in closets, kept our secrets, and suffered in silence, never daring to admit we needed psychological or spiritual help, now we now we think nothing of hearing about famous people who've sought help for chemical addictions and so forth. We've literally come out of the closet, and it seems a healthy trend, for it has enabled like minds to find each other, to become part of a family like community of souls who are seeking to get on with it. It's the spiritual transformation, restoration, and recovery community marked by small groups that don't cost money to join. The price of belonging is commitment to wellness. So she is talking about, they're talking about all of it. Soul families, really. You know, that for years, and it is true, guys. I mean, for years, unless you could find in the church for many generations, but for the most part, we humans would feel like, oh my goodness, this family, I'm stuck with this family. I will tell you, that's why people would migrate. I mean, honestly, that's you get married and you realize, oh my goodness, I need to take my tight family, my wife and two kids or whatever, and I need to get them the hell out of Dodge because these people are crazy. They're the Hadfields and the McCoys, right? So that's why a lot of people would start moving, and or if it was survival reasons. But now she's talking about with the groups, the recovery groups, and just finding like minded individuals. We don't seem to need to share specific compulsions, only general backgrounds marked by repressed family attitudes in order to recognize one another. Only for the past 50 years have we been capable for an instant communications that allow us to see inside one another's family lives. It also seems there wow. And this is before the internet, guys. It also seems there has been an insurgence during this time period of souls who are highly aware and frankly fed up with the outrageous methods of not coping with life thrust upon us by traditional institutions, such as schools and churches. A groundswell of spirituality stores or mentally oh, wow. I've never read that word before. A groundswell of spirituality restored, mentally healthier individuals were making their presence felt among us. There are there are universal truths at work. The old order is failing to make way for the new. Book written in 1989. Cayce's doing readings 40, 50 years before this. She in 1989 is saying a lot of the traditions are breaking away. A lot of the stuff is breaking away. People are finding and building communities for healthier lifestyles, for recovery, for just to feel a part of that is out of the norm. Like all of our, I know people that do like tarot groups every Tuesday night who do things like that. not part of the church, not maybe a knitting group, not a, right? Where they're all finding their way. And this is in 1989, before the onset of what we're doing now. Of what we're doing now. I mean, the Stars of the Morning Light Patreon is a community, definitely. There's about 20 of us so far, and we communicate and we care about one another. We care if we don't hear from one for a while. Where are you? We care about, we we come together. I teach with them, and we come together twice a month. Every Sunday they're now meditating together. I mean, it's an amazing community, and most of the people in the chat right now are a part of it. And it's only $8 a month. That the onset of community is vastly different from even 1989, because you could feel a connection with someone you've actually never met. I did not think growing up that that was possible. And I actually did not make a connection with someone through the internet until just a couple of years ago. And it was through Instagram. I would not be here right now on YouTube if it wasn't for a couple of people on Instagram. And I still don't even know how to work Instagram. But we started just DMing. I've talked to them maybe once or twice on the phone. I care about those people. One is way up in Canada and one is in New York. I've never met them. And they're younger than me, so I probably never would have met them in life circumstances. If it wasn't for those two people, I probably would have never actually started my YouTube channel. So think about that. So then I finally learned, like, oh my goodness, people do make connections with humans that they've actually never been in physical contact with via the internet. I had to learn for myself and understand it myself and experience it myself. Now that goes across the board. Many of you have already done that for many a years. Many of you have already understand this. She's writing this in 1989. Casey's talking about this stuff decades before. And now we're 100 years forward from when Casey was living, with the internet, that you can contact anybody. You can speak to anybody. You can DM anybody. You can visibly see anybody. So the fact that like-minded individuals should be able to find a community for them and be with that community and care about that community and grow within that community. There's nothing really stopping us. Nothing stopping us. Yes, I saw Teresa just put the word in groundswell. I know what it means. Um, I haven't read that. Like, I don't know if I've ever actually, I don't know if anybody's ever used it that I've read. It's great. It's just, um, I don't know. I personally, it's very outdated, that word. Casey spoke of his natural Casey spoke of this natural trend as leading to the comprehension and knowledge of the continuality of life and its experience in the earth. We are gaining an understanding of our purpose for being here, and even though environmental and hereditary forces influence us psychologically, spiritually, we sense that we have a choice about how we will allow these influences to affect us. We are finally gaining enough insight and intelligence to recognize past dependency patterns and are taking steps to remold the pattern into one that will carry us into the next century. here we are, next century. Our educational system is recognizing that it has made few provisions for the child who hears his own music, and fewer for the children who thinks his own thoughts. Some of our churches are recognizing that if they are to remain a viable force for good, they must come to terms with the realities of today. That God is being perceived by many as personal, capable of communicating with his children directly, wherever they are, without intervention of the clergy. Many are seeing the light literally. So they were giving a bunch of different examples, and we are living that now. The school systems have vastly changed, as we were going through Casey's bio. By the time it got to me, and I was experiencing very similar stuff as Casey, they had different systems in place to help me. Same with the churches. This is where we get non-denominational. That became so popular, which is cool. Cool. That's good. Because denomination just means division. But also more people are understanding the old ways of that the word from God comes from the clergy. They're understanding that they can read their Bible, they can communicate with God, and a lot of people have laid down what originally had been coming out of the church, as far as people finding their own higher source, their own God definition. That is vastly, that's, I mean, we always had paganism. We always had, stuff before Christianity, stuff before churches. But the return to things and the enlightenment of things has looked different over the past few decades. Greatly. Greatly. New Age. There's a term for New Age. So as we continue. Give me one moment. We're going to finish chapter 5 today. Excellent. The light, because we just read, many are seeing the light, literally, and they have seen the light in quotations. The light, in quotations, is being shed on family systems that have, down through the ages, become disoriented. No longer are we willing to pass on to our children bizarre rules that crippled us. We are reckoning with our denials, fears, compulsions, and avoidances of ourselves. We are making our own rules and reinforming our ideals about what a family should be. A place where, if it's important, it gets talked about, not ignored. Change appears to be slow in coming, but it isn't really. Not when we consider how recently we've been able to be in touch with one another. One idea can present itself to more people in 5 minutes than it could in 500 years before television. Woo, it's not even 5 minutes anymore. 5 seconds. Go to Twitter. You'll see. We fly through the air to gather in groups to discuss subjects not even thought of 50 years ago. Then we come home and telephone our friends to discuss them further. We zing around like cannonballs, picking up information, and we're using it, at least somewhat, to enrich our lives and the lives of those who will follow. And who will follow? Perhaps it is who we will follow. Perhaps it is we who will follow. Sorry. As more and more people come to believe that we, as our own ancestors, I'll have to, trust me, the next chapter, chapter 6, does go into that kind of stuff more. I will explain. Let me finish reading. As more and more people come to believe that we, as our own ancestors, created the world in which we live, we now believe that we can recreate it, that we don't have to destroy it as once seemed inevitable. We can preserve it for as long as it shall be preserved. It may not be given to us as known how long that is, but we will at least try to hand it back to God as in good shape as it was handed to us. We will fight for the relationships with our families for the same reason. We fight for our trees and our wilderness and protect our animals as best as we can. We want them to be there when we return as our own heirs. And that is how chapter 5 ends. So they just said, man, this book, it says a lot. It says a lot. As more and more people come to believe that we, as our own ancestors, so we are our own ancestors, past, present, and future. We also are here, as I've said a lot, to love, to heal, to help the earth. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. We're here to help restore the earth, heal the earth, including ourselves, so we can get back as we return again to that wonderful golden city or utopia or Garden of Eden, or however you may need to reference it. We want them to be here when we return as our own heirs. That goes from everything. We're here wanting to protect, heal, preserve, grow better, all of it, take care of the land, the animals, our children, our family, ourselves. So when we come again, it'll be even better. The next chapter, chapter 6, is the secrets of the soul's world. I'm kind of debating, as I do believe I hear my husband turning into the driveway. I believe the details about soul contracts and whatnot, I will talk about that next time that we get into this. But hold on to what was said and the questions posed and think of how far we've come. I mean, how much we are learning and growing and changing because of the gift of this communication we have right now. This is one of the most grandest gifts that we have as a society to use and choose to use in wonderful ways to communicate as to how we are using our human free will. How are we living that life's journey purpose in love, right? So that was a little bit of reading chapter 5. We got through it. And next chapter is, like I said, it is, I'll hold it up. The Secrets of the Soul's World. Yeah, this will kind of go through there's going to be probably a lot of talk next time, so I'm going to have to prepare to go for a while, because what is a soul? What is reincarnation? What are these soul contracts? Why did I choose to be born through this? Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot discussed. So, lovely people, it was great to be with you again, and I apologize I was about 20 minutes late. I do try to do this Edgar Cayce life skill study on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for who came in the chat. Um, Consider being a part of the Patreon community. The link is in the About section. It really is a great time, and not just is it a great community that care about one another, they're learning valuable skills, especially now. They're learning such valuable skills. What I teach there, um, it's more in depth than what I do here. So consider joining us if you want to be more with a like-minded community and be able to express yourself and feel appreciated and and express the beautiful light being that you are. Definitely join and consider it. So thank you all for being here. Thank you everybody for coming in the chat. It was lovely to be with you. I do believe my husband's home, so I'm going to go say hello to him. Bye, guys.